Here is a great lesson. Whatever you do can be changed because things evolve and nothing is perfect the first time around. That's what today's quick episode is all about. When I started this podcast, I thought all I'd be doing was giving tips and tricks, helping people skip the line, so to speak. But it's already evolved into much more than that. We have 24 episodes already, thousands and thousands of downloads, many people listening, and it's already changed. What I want it to be has already changed. So yes, there are tips and tricks, but as well as the writing craft and discussions with authors, there are talks about business and on creativity and the creative life, which is why I have been brainstorming and decided to rename part of this podcast. It's gone through an evolution. So instead of tips and tricks for fiction writers, it is now the Writer Spark podcast, business, creativity, and the craft of writing, which much more accurately captures what I want to talk about with you and with the other writers I chat with. Understanding that you can change things after you've started is really important. Nothing is written in stone. As writers, I think it's pretty common for us to get hung up on the idea of perfection, and that notion can really stymie our forward momentum. And that is what today's episode is about. Everything can be changed. Everything evolves, including your writing. And in order for us to be able to let go and understand that we can change things or fix things or revise things later, we have to let go of the idea of perfection now. Whatever you write can be revised. All right, raise your hand if you've gotten stuck with your writing and haven't known what to do or what to write next. My hand is in the air, and I bet a lot of yours are too. Keep those hands up if you've ever felt like what you've just written, what you've put down on the page is terrible, crappy, the worst thing that you have ever done. My hand is still up in the air. I have felt this many times. I too often, feel like the book I'm currently working on is the worst one that I have ever written and nobody is going to like it and I'm not going to be able to pull it off because I'm not even through with it when I'm having these negative thoughts. I feel that way, and I've written 32 books to date. How is that for negative self-talk? In our household, we have always tried to discourage that type of self-defeating negative inner dialogue. My husband has always piped up at the dinner table with no negative self-talk whenever our kids surfaced with something like that. Our kids, as a result, hear that mantra in their heads even now as adults. Hearing something over and over can really help you internalize it. That's true for the negative as well as the positive. So if you tell yourself, no negative self-talk, can stop that cycle. And if you can reframe it into something positive, then you can internalize that and it can help you kind of conquer that issue or conquer that negativity. Let's turn it around. If you feel your writing isn't up to par or that what you're producing is crap or anything along those lines, you need to stop. Stop and reframe those thoughts. This is where we come back to the first thing I said just a moment ago, which is that everything can be changed. Quite a few authors have had this brilliant refrain that you can't fix a blank page, but you can fix a page that you've written on. It's true. You can't fix something if you haven't actually started it. You can fix anything that you've already started. Your writing can change, you can fix, you can revise, you can enhance, you can improve through the process of revision. Knowing that you can do that and that you can revise and that you should revise because it is part of the process can free your mind. It can allow you to give yourself up to just write. Write brilliantly, write horribly, write tritely. It doesn't matter, just write. When you get to the revision process, you'll get to dig into it because that's what revision is all about. Let's dive into my 5 hacks for chasing away the negative self-talk. First, you have to recognize that you're doing it. It's kind of like admitting you have a problem, right? Whether you're stopping smoking or stopping your binge eating or whatever it is, admit that it's happening in the first place. When you catch yourself thinking or muttering to yourself that your writing is terrible, that what you've just put down is crap, that you're never going to be able to finish this book, that this is the worst thing you've ever written, that nobody's ever going to read it, whatever it is, own that you're doing it. Acknowledge that you're planting these seeds in your head. And we want to take those seeds, the weeds, and rip them out, because every time you say these things to yourself, have that negative self-talk, you are reinforcing those ideas. And we don't want to do that. Number 2, once you've acknowledged that negative self-talk or whatever it is that's happening in your mind that can be stopping you from forward progress, reframe it. Change the narrative. My writing is good. My writing is not terrible. What I wrote is not crap. I will be able to finish this book. My readers will love this. I am going to be published. Whatever it is, turn it around into something positive. Number 3, another thing you can do is to acknowledge that I'm going to revise it later, and then simply leave it. It's not going anywhere, so don't let it stop you from moving forward. If you're stuck on something, if you don't like something, don't spin your wheels and keep tackling that same thing over and over and over again. Leave it and come back to it later when you've had some time to process and you might have some clarity. Number 4, if you're the type of person who just can't move on, if that idea of putting it aside and moving forward into something else just doesn't work for you, okay, you need to work within your own personality and parameters. Shorten the time frame. So instead of still going at it today, right now, set it aside until later in the afternoon or until tomorrow, and give yourself time to do something else, to sort of let go of the anguish or the frustration or the negativity or whatever it is that's stifling you in that particular moment. So you don't have to put it aside until you're finished with the book and revise all at once. You can put it aside for a shorter period of time and come back to it. Finally, number 5, let your subconscious work. If there's something in particular that is not working, step away from that scene, move on to something else. Let your subconscious help you solve the problem. I do this all the time. If I'm stuck, I know that it's because I've gone awry somewhere. I'm stuck in my plots. Something isn't right. I don't like what I've done with a character. I've gone off track. I've gone away from my scene question, whatever it is, or I don't have enough conflict, or I have too much conflict, or something's not making sense. I need to step away to get some time for my brain, my subconscious, to process it and help me solve the problem. And inevitably it happens. I'll sleep on it, maybe for a day, maybe for a couple of days. I'll wake up, I'll take a walk, I'll be cleaning or cooking or doing whatever, and suddenly I have this aha moment of, oh, that's what I need to do. That's what Elizabeth Gilbert calls big magic in her book, Big Magic, which is something I'm going to talk about at a later episode. But it's true, it happens. We have to let our subconscious work and let those moments resolve themselves. Our brain is miraculous, and it will help you get through the problems if you allow it to. The biggest message I hope you take away from this episode is that nothing is perfect the first time around, and you can't expect it to be, especially when it comes to your writing. I have learned so much as an author, but even after 32 books, nothing I write is perfect the first time around. Revision is key. I revise. My editor revises. It literally takes a village every single time. It is perfectly okay, even expected, to be frustrated by your skill or your perceived flaws as a writer. Remember, though, you are your own worst critic. We tend to be very hard on ourselves, which is okay in some ways, right? It can push us beyond what we thought we could do. It can challenge us, but it can also cut us off at the knees. Doubt and insecurity and that idea of imposter syndrome, those are all part of the journey for every creative person. What we do is incredibly personal. We're digging deep. We're creating something from nothing that comes from deep inside of ourselves, and then we're putting it out into the world for other people to judge. That can be really, really difficult. Getting mired in the doubt and the insecurity around that can stifle your creativity and your forward progress. It's truly up to you to stop that from happening, to recognize that the negative self-talk is happening, that it's stifling you, or that it's holding you back in some way, and it is up to you to reframe it, to change that narrative, that internal dialogue that's happening. You have the power to do that. Give yourself permission to write crap, to write terribly, and then let go of the judgment you put on yourself, because again, you can revise anything. You can fix anything. You can change anything. You just have to do it the first time in order to get to that second step. And that's it. All about the idea of letting go of perfection. This is something I had to learn along the way, and it was really difficult. Again, because writing is so personal. And when other people are out there judging it, telling you what's good about it, what's bad about it, that can really get under your skin. And it's difficult, but you have to figure out how to let that go, how to let go of the idea that what you write every time is going to be perfect. And also remember that you're never going to please everyone. So you have to understand that as well. What you write it has an audience. You have a target audience, and it is not going to be for everyone. So the idea of perfection across the board is flawed right there. All right, that's it. You have the power to reframe your thinking. Get rid of that negative self-talk. Be positive. Understand that revision is part of the process. And just write. I will see you next time. And until then, y'all, happy writing.